Hi, my name's Dan, and I'm Tessa's dad. I'd like everybody to humor me for a minute and think of someone who you consider to be different. You know, someone who just doesn't fit in. Well, what is it that makes them different? Their appearance, personality, background, a condition? Well, in my mind, different had a negative connotation. Different was weird, strange, odd, bad. And conversely, when I thought of those who were similar to me, I thought, oh, they're normal, good. But different is a relative term. Yeah, in one setting, I'm just like everybody else. But in another, I'm a complete outsider. It's a matter of perspective. And a personal connection with someone who's different from us can change that perspective. Someone who most people consider to be different was my daughter, Tessa. Now, she changed my perspective forever.
Go. Llama Tessa. Llama Tessa. Llama Tessa.
Last time I was in this auditorium, I was here for Tessa's 4th grade holiday concert. She played flute, sang songs in the chorus. It was a great night. But 5 days later, our world came crashing down when Tessa unexpectedly collapsed and later died after 25 days in the ICU. The unexpected and improbable death of a healthy 9-year-old kid from an undiagnosed bacterial infection is a story all into itself. How we took her to the doctor a few times, including 3 days prior, for an annoying, lingering cough. And how they didn't give her medicine, just assuming it was something viral. But I'm not here to talk about Tessa's death. I'm here to talk about Tessa's life and the impact that this quirky little girl had in her short time here. How she opened the hearts and minds of her family, friends, and an entire community. And how I intend to broaden that impact. Tessa was born and raised here. She was one of us. She's the firstborn of our 3 children. My wife and I are also blessed with her 2 younger brothers who are 7 and 5. I love being a dad. I was meant for it. But what I didn't realize until after Tessa's death is that I was meant to be Tessa's dad specifically. Being Tessa's dad has been the most challenging and rewarding labor of love that I've ever known. She wasn't easy. Nothing about Tessa was easy. Since she was a toddler, we were trying to figure her out. How could a kid that little be so complex? She had this intense anxiety about her that's hard to understand or explain. She was always, well, different. In hindsight, it all made sense. See, Tessa was transgender. She was born a male. You know, boy parts. But in her heart and in her mind and with every fiber of her being, she was a girl. I say it now like it's no big deal. But as we were navigating through it, it seemed impossible to grasp. I'm a traditional guy from a traditional family. The most shocking thing that's happened in my family prior to Tessa is when my sister moved out to Arizona. That was scandalous at the time. So this was devastating to me. I thought I had a firstborn son. my dream come true. But Tessa knew who she was from an early age. You can see pictures of Tessa dressing in girls' clothing and playing with girls' toys going back to the age of 3. And no matter how hard I hoped and prayed that it was just a phase that would go away, over time it only became more intense. And by the age of 5, in kindergarten, her artwork, handwriting, mannerisms were all unmistakably feminine. And she would clearly tell us and others that she was a girl. I didn't get it, and I didn't want to get it. I fought it hard. I tried everything to try to make that kid the boy that I thought she was and that I desperately wanted her to be. To no avail. It took a few years to evolve from that initial reaction of denial and fighting it to learning about it, coming to understand it, eventually accepting it, and ultimately embracing that she was a girl. It took a few years, but the truth is, as soon as we allowed her to, she was going to live her life as Tessa. At the age of 7, before the start of 2nd grade, that's what she did. She was really happy about it, too. If we left it up to her, she would have chosen the name Diamond Sparkles. She really was something. She didn't care what other people thought of her. And when classmates questioned her, she would simply say, and I quote, "I am who I am, who I am." For far too long, I focused on what set Tessa apart as if it was a bad thing. I'd ask, why can't she just be like all the other kids? Come on, seriously? I now find it ridiculous that I used to want her to be like everybody else. These are the things that made her who she was, made her unique and exceptional. These are the things I miss most about her. Tessa is the one who taught me how to be a real man. Funny to think that my 9-year-old transgender daughter was the one to teach me how to be a real man. As a guy, I find it easy to posture, be tough. I drive my big truck around and I talk trash with the guys on the court or on the field. But it's not easy to provide unconditional love and support to your children, no matter what. To do what's best for them, and not necessarily what's easiest for you or the most socially acceptable. It wasn't easy walking Tessa into school at 5 years old, when she still looked like a boy named Heath. But had a bow in her hair and a My Little Pony shirt that she just had to wear while knowing everybody's watching. That's when I found out what I was made of. In only 9 years, Tessa led a more impactful life than most. And it wasn't just me. Tessa impacted people from all walks of life. For most of us, Tessa was the only transgender person we knew. Before her, it was something you heard about. Something that happened to other people. Something that maybe wasn't even real. But Tessa changed that tragic image that I had of transgender people. Homelessness, drug abuse, suicide, all these tragic outcomes. But now, the image I have of a transgender person is Tessa. Innocent, sweet, quirky, funny, happy Tessa. Every day reconfirmed that we were on the right track. Tessa was thriving. She was the happiest and most confident I'd ever seen her. She was so confident, she would sing and dance like no one was watching. And she didn't just walk places. She would skip. And this has made Tessa's death that much more frustrating because everything we did to support Tessa and allow her to be herself at such a young age was to avoid a tragic outcome. We came to understand that all transgender people need is the love and support of their family. If they have that support, they'll probably be okay. If they don't, they probably won't be. Just like anybody else. So her life wasn't supposed to end in tragedy. And guess what? Her life didn't end in tragedy. It ended in happiness, surrounded by love and acceptance, while she played Shopkins. I often describe Tessa as quirky, funny, smart, because she was. But I never thought of describing her as brave and courageous. But that's exactly what she was. After her death, we heard numerous heartwarming stories about her. One story came from a parent whose child is autistic. He was new to Tessa's class, and since he didn't know anybody, he would just kind of wander around at recess. Until Tessa saw this. Asked the boy if he wanted to play. Join her and her friends. It's a simple gesture, but meant a whole heck of a lot to that kid. Now had somebody to play with at recess and reported it back to his mom. Meant a whole lot to his mom, who shared how grateful she was that her child was included and accepted despite his challenges. And a little girl shared how she was being bullied at school. How Tessa came to school the very next day with signs she made, or campaign-style posters that said, "Get on Team Amanda." Changed the kid's name for the sake of the kid. But Tessa's empathy was boundless. And instead of just being a bystander, she did something about it. And shouldn't we all approach life with that sense of compassion? What hardens us so much? Life beats you down? Yeah, I get it. I've had my share of beatdowns recently. But shouldn't these experiences make us more compassionate and not less? Most families are dealing with something. In fact, when Tessa transitioned, some people were relieved. They were relieved that another family that they knew wasn't perfect. And they came to us and said, "Oh, thank God." And it made them share what their families were going through. I felt like a shrink. ADD, anxiety, autism, depression, diabetes, disabilities, dyslexia, seizures. I could go on. Anybody out there dealing with any of these things? Yeah. So, you see, this idea of a personal connection, someone who's different from us, changing our perspective, it transcends transgender people. There are a lot of things that are really hard to understand until they happen to you, or someone you know. A lot of things I don't understand. Things like addiction and divorce and why I'm a Mets fan. But seriously, I think of things like food allergies. Nobody in my family ever had a food allergy. So I used to get annoyed when Tessa couldn't bring her favorite peanut butter and banana sandwiches into school. That wasn't how it was when we were kids. We got to toughen up. We're getting soft, right? No, wrong. Just because I don't get it doesn't make it any less real to that kid who can go into anaphylactic shock and die if they eat a peanut. My point is that you don't have to fully comprehend something to be empathetic and open-minded toward it. I have to believe that Tessa's death happened for a reason. And that reason is to maximize her impact on this world. She's inspired me to be better, to do more. So I created an organization called Llama Tessa, which was her nickname. I'm still figuring out exactly what it is, but the idea is to cultivate more inclusive communities for kids who are considered different. My hope is that Llama Tessa will keep Tessa's spirit alive through empathy, inclusion, love, and acceptance. But you don't have to create an organization to have an impact. Everyone here can do a couple really simple things when you leave here today that'll make a huge impact. Share your stories. Share what makes you and your family different. When we share what we're going through, all of a sudden that person or that situation isn't so different or weird or bad. You'll be amazed with how similar our differences make us. And don't be a bystander. Take action. Empathy alone isn't enough without action. This doesn't have to be new or innovative. Simple gestures, acts of kindness, they go a long way. We saw this on Tessa's birthday when people I didn't even know sharing pictures and stories on the Llama Tessa Facebook. It was heartwarming. It was powerful. So go do something about it, the way that Tessa did for that little boy on the playground and that little girl who was being bullied. My name's Dan, and I'm Tessa's dad. Thank you. God bless.